Welcome to The Ripple Within, a podcast by All-in-One Life Coaching. I'm Michelle, a certified life coach specializing in mindset, emotional wellness, and the law of attraction. I work with people to help create the narrative around their desired outcome.
And I'm Kathy. I'm here to ask the questions, explore the patterns, and share the real life moments that make this all, make sense.
This podcast is about the connection between how we feel and the physical reality we experience every day. We'll explore how our thoughts lead to outcomes and how narrative shifts can create big change.
We'll keep it grounded using logic and lived experience, not just theory. And if you've ever wondered why you feel stuck, reactive, or out of sync with yourself, you're not alone.
Our life experience will always match how we feel. This podcast is about exploring our ripple within, how our thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and values contribute to the physical life we live. Let's get into it. Welcome back, everyone. All right, Kathy, what have you got for us today?
This week, we're going to tackle something a little more challenging, I think. We're going to do a combo pack. So let's talk about a hot topic combined with a listener feedback topic of depression.
Okay.
Hot topic is what is happening between the relationship with US and Canada currently. I mean, US and other countries too, but I live in Canada, so I care about others too, but it feels like we've lost a best friend, betrayed by a best friend, lied about by a best friend. How many other words can we put in there? Concern, of course, is also for the American people, Canadian people. I had an interesting conversation with a coworker this week that also mentioned not wanting to watch the news, etc., because it's depressing. And it's frustrating, and it makes you angry, and it, not that we're supposed to care what other people think or what other people say. It's kind of hard when he is in your face and on many occasions lying through his teeth. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, it's just another really big subject for us. So we will be able to cover the first part of the stuff that you said, which is we feel lied to, we feel betrayed, we feel like we lost a best friend. When we say those words, we can automatically feel that disconnect because when we lose a best friend, that sucks and that's heavy, and it's hard to be able to look at a bright side to any of it. So, what becomes tricky from a law of attraction perspective and from our own well being and what we talk about here? If we view what's happening as wrong, as bad, as lies, as this, then ultimately we are the ones in that precise moment that's not going to feel good. And it doesn't mean that we are accepting what's happening or not accepting what's happening. It just means that if we're looking at it, talking about it, listening to it, writing about it, then we're not going to feel good. It doesn't take away from some of the things that we know as Canadians, things that are being said simply aren't true. But I would also say that there's probably some perceptions that we're also holding about that situation that are also untrue. and may not include all of the information. And whenever we as humans have an emotional response to something that we don't like, is really offering us way more information. So, for example, we'll talk something specific that has come up over the last year, which is tariffs and how they work. And Canada's been gouging us and this and that and taking advantage of us. Now, I don't know all of the specifics and all of the agreements and everything that is in place. What I do know, though, is that the trade agreement that is currently in place is from 2016, which was the first go around for the American president, which is the CUSMA agreement, which is Canada, USA, and Mexico. So we've all agreed to this specific agreement that was created by the US president. And I mean, obviously, we had the Mexican president, Canadian prime minister. So we've had people involved from all countries creating this agreement. And I think what gets frustrating for Canadians is we sit back and we hear it and we're like, but it's your agreement. Like, how are we screwing you when it's your agreement? And again, I think there's just a lot of theatrics, some political finger pointing, and we experience that in Canada as well within our own governments, right? Like we have the somewhat of the same stuff happening here between our governments. So I think the bigger thing for us is really focusing in on what maybe we can do differently as individuals and how we're contributing. So if we see something online through social media that we don't like him say, for example, or anybody else, right? Anybody who might support that, because there were a lot of supporters that he had to be elected. Like, so there was some sort of a belief system that happened that really would create a benefit for some people. And I don't know all of the specifics on everything that he ran from and what he said he was going to do, and really whether or not he's met those objectives. I know enough that when I see things online, you're still going to get people saying he's meeting the objective. He's doing what he said he was going to do. And then you'll get the other end of the stick with people going, no, he's not doing any of it. And that's probably truthful from both ends of the spectrum. Because if we have a belief system that, and we'll use gas prices because we feel it really hard here in Canada. It's expensive, right? So then we really want somebody to blame for that. Like we just do as humans. So when we don't feel good, we want it to be somebody else's fault. And not saying that you and I have control or power in setting gas prices and stuff like that. We don't. But what it does mean and what it creates is a different type of conversation. It still creates opportunity for us to grow, learn, and expand. We have a belief system where about inclusion and everybody being treated equally and fairly and loving all that is, and being judgment free for as often as we can. Then when we see stuff like this, it is really hard to be able to go, he's doing what he needs to do to create the environment that he's creating, and to do, like, it's really difficult to play that, we'll just change the narrative game that we talk about so much. And it's why we say often that if you're looking at something that bothers you, you will never be able to feel good while you're doing it. It's just an unrealistic ask of ourselves to think, for example, that that person is a complete liar and a terrible human and just not doing what he said. We're never going to be able to say that and feel good. It doesn't make it untruthful. It doesn't make it right or wrong. It just means while we're having that conversation or while we're focused there, we're just simply not going to feel good. But there is a much larger picture at play. One of those things that is interesting, there's a reason why we have laws, right? There's a reason why there's 10 commandments. There's a reason why those things exist. And if everybody on the planet were just truthful and honest and cared about the environment and cared about each other and everyone's well-being and supported each other and didn't point the finger when something was going wrong, then we would never need any laws. There would be no need for them. But as we say often, humans be humaning, and humans have access to all of it. So we have access to being a good person. We have access to that. We also have access to be judgmental, to be fearful, to point the finger, to complain, to want you to solve my problem. We have access to that. So even though we may not agree politically on the way some things are happening or the way we're handling it, or our government, or whether for us here in Alberta, whether it's our provincial government and then our federal government and that structure within it. So the bigger question would be, how do you think, or what do you think could be an effective way for us to not have to pay attention to what is happening? You already said one, right? We don't watch the news. But what else could we do in these situations, do you think?
I try to limit the amount that I watch because I find myself making comments at the TV or, you know, so read a book maybe. I don't know, play video games, distract yourself, go do something
Yeah.
that makes you feel happy. Although there is nothing wrong with maybe being in it for a little bit and
Nothing
letting
wrong
your
with it.
heart out and then, you know, moving on. But
Yeah.
for those that really struggle with depression when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to all of it,
Mm-hmm.
how do we how do we get them to move even slightly up the chain?
Yeah. And I mean, that's the tricky part, right? Because when we're in a depression, it is very difficult to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Because when we're in it, what's happening in here is that very thing that you had already mentioned at the beginning of this episode, which is we feel like we're being cheated. We feel like we're being lied to. We feel like there's disrespect and that, Canada isn't contributing and all of those things are happening. So again, it wouldn't be logical for us to ask ourselves to come out of depression when that's where we're focused. So I think it's really we as people, we need to give ourselves a break, first of all. And we need to understand that being in the rabbit hole from time to time is part of this life's process. And depression, clinically or otherwise, are very serious things for humans. And it's almost even misunderstood by a large majority of the population outside of a medical field, because it affects people so differently. And things affect people differently. Words affect people differently. So when we're not feeling good, the real trick to this is being able to notice sooner than hitting depression. Because we don't go from feeling optimistic and going with the flow and having a good time. We don't go from that to instant depression. That's not how it works. There are some things that are happening in between there. If everything I played for you for 24 hours was sad, depressing, harmful, hurtful, it would be pretty easy to have you go into a depressive state because you're wired for well-being. You're wired to feel good and optimistic. And we don't get to do that while we're looking at something that isn't. So the turning off the news, the going for a walk, reading a book that feels good, playing a video game, as long as you don't get frustrated and angry at your video game, because that would be, we're moving back to the rabbit hole again, right? So being able to do something that truly lifts you up from a well-being perspective, that is really the trick. And noticing if you see something that you don't like, going, oh, that dumb mother. Oh, okay. So I'm dipping right now. I'm not depressed in that second. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I'm annoyed. I'm pissed off. But I haven't reached depression yet. And depending on a person's definition of depression, again, could mean different things. So to clarify, for me, depression is not being able to get out of bed, having a hard time eating, no motivation, maybe only want to sleep all the time, don't want to be with friends, don't want to go to work, don't want to. That for me is what depression means on a broader scale. So even when we say that by definition, when a human being is there, it isn't logical to expect them to be somewhere else at exactly the same time. I'm probably a good example of that, yourself maybe included. I experienced depression where I didn't want to get out of bed and I was just exhausted and sad and just didn't know how I was going to ever get out of it. And I mean, I've been there, I've experienced that. But I also discovered in that what I was doing in here was contributing to that. So in here, I'm like, this guy's a loser and he doesn't know what he's talking about, and they're all a bunch of liars. And so once I realized that, to be able to change the narrative, to be able to look at something else, to be able to do something else, and then I really challenged me. What am I doing to take part in this vision that I have of the way I think our earth should be? So, am I truly being all inclusive? Am I behaving from a place that is kind and understanding and empathetic? And am I really behaving from there? Or in this moment, I've had a rough day, I'm on social media, I see something I don't like, and I get to say, well, that person is making me upset. Like, it's your fault that I'm upset. And we'll all do that from time to time. We just will. We want to blame others for the way we feel when we don't feel good. And it's interesting because when we do feel good and fantastic, we're really quick to pat ourselves on the back for that. But when we don't feel good and fantastic, we're really quick to go, that's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. And so it's even more interesting because we have immigration issues in Canada too. Like, we're not immune to it. People come to our country and they break the law, and things happen, and they may not have the best of intentions. So it's not like it's just an America thing. This is also like this happens around the world where that's happening. But then it creates that bigger picture of, why is it happening? Why are people actually bad citizens? What's happening to them in their environment? How are they raised? Where did they grow up? What is the belief system? Is there trauma that's happened to them before? Because, and I've said this a million times, like, if the fraudsters out there spent the same amount of time doing something legitimate, they would be successful, because it also takes work to scam people. Like, you have to create fake names and, spend a lot of time on the phone trying to get you to buy in. So if people actually did the work to do it legitimately, then we would have way less of an issue to monitor. And that can be on a multitude of levels. So if the goal is to just make as much money as I can and I don't care who I step on to do it, well, now you're playing with fire. Like you're playing with the legal system, you're playing with people in the environment, you are certainly testing your own well-being, because there's just no criminal out there who is comfortably living life and like, oh, I have nothing to worry about that I've broken the law. These folks are always looking over their shoulder, or they're always doubting you. They're always questioning you because their behavior is in the rabbit hole. So they are in the rabbit hole going, if I'm here, so are you. So if I'm over here cheating the system or cheating in general, if I'm over here doing that and I'm looking at you, well, you must be doing the same thing. You must be. Because it's not logical for us to cheat the system and then think everyone else is super honest. We don't function that way as humans. We're in the
That's
rabbit
true.
hole,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where, is the relationship strained? And for anybody from America, if you don't know Canadians, and I know we have a reputation of being the most polite people, we are a very polite, kind nation until we get burnt. I have never in my history of being alive have seen Canada come together the way it has in the past year. And for that, I am slightly grateful to America for pointing it out,
Yeah,
for showing us how maybe individually and collectively in our own country, how we can be different, how we can support local, how we can buy Canadian made products,
yeah,
how we can support the local mom and pop store. And even more, I think, and I'm pretty kind to everyone, like just that's who I am by nature. I appreciate, I want to learn from diversity. I want to learn from other cultures, certainly appreciate the food that comes
yeah,
with that, and just the dynamic of how people live and breathe and what their belief systems are. So for me, I'm fascinated by it. It doesn't mean I like the criminal.
yeah.
Ooh, flawed. It doesn't mean that I am okay with what the criminal is doing. I still appreciate the human being. Because again, we'll go back to, there is no 1-day-old baby going, you know what? When I'm 35, I am going to be like the worst person ever.
That's true. Yeah, yeah,
I mean, that's just not happening, right? And we don't know the dynamics of how people are raised or the environment that they're in. Here is something I do know. When we create an environment that makes it more difficult for people to be successful, then it becomes easier for them to make flawed decisions. So
def-
for the fraudster out there who's trying to do a phone scam, one point was like, no, I'm actually going to apply for a business license and I'm going to see if I can make a go of this and I want to do this, but we've created so much red tape that they can't do it. Then we almost take away their ability to be honest. They don't get what they want. They really want something really bad. So when we want something we can't have, that's rabbit hole. If we're living in poverty, for example, it doesn't matter where in the world you are, every nation experiences poverty. You increase the risk of those folks breaking the law. If people are starving, you increase the risk of good people stealing a loaf of bread because they're trying to feed their family.
Yeah.
Thoughts for me?
I was just thinking of along the lines, does that fall in line with being able to take away the excuse?
Yeah. I mean, everything in our experience, there's a way to take away the excuse. As we mentioned in a group meeting yesterday, and you know my belief system, there is a solution for everything. Literally every problem on the planet has a solution. We may not have discovered it yet. We
Yeah.
might need to have many, many people involved to get to that discovery. But if the initial intention is to be secretive, is to hurt a group of people over here or to take away from them, or the intention to have such strict laws that, man, you are going to go down for the rest of your life. We are just simply playing in the rabbit hole to start with. And we've talked about this before, where if we stop talking about all of the problems and spent more time talking about how solutions might come to be, then we minimize the risks substantially. And it's tricky for humans when we have an opinion of you don't deserve it. It's tricky for humans if we have an opinion that because you're doing something takes away from me. None of that is true.
And it's harder. I mean, every time you turn around, there's some story about something. It's such a challenge
It's
sometimes
nonstop.
because, right? Because you talk to a customer, you talk to a coworker, you talk to a friend, and first words are, "Can you believe what the hell is happening right now?" Like,
Yeah.
let me ask you this before we
Yeah.
kind of wrap things up. But let me ask you this. Do you think he believes what he's saying, or do you think he knows he's not completely truthful?
I think
Like, we
my
can't really know what's in anybody's head, but
exactly.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So my response to that would be is I think what's more important for me as a human to be able to feel good and optimistic, I'm going to pay more attention to what our country is doing, the changes we're making, the growth we're expanding, the camaraderie that's been gained within our country. Now, again, it doesn't mean that I don't care about Americans. I have some very, very
Yeah.
dear friends and clients from America, from the US, that I love, adore, and appreciate. But even the ones who truly support him and believe in him, I appreciate them too, because they are in fact entitled to their opinion. They are entitled to feel the way they feel. And my negative judgment of them holds me in the rabbit hole. And I prefer not to be in the rabbit hole. So I know that it's why I'll never respond in a post. It's why I'll never challenge somebody online. I'm just never going to do that because I am not going to contribute to the negative cesspool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're right. Canada is doing some really great things. And yes, on the one hand, maybe a little tiny, teeny part could be grateful of our
Yeah.
expansion and growth
Yeah.
as a country as well. But
And our,
damn, could have
yeah.
found a better way to do it.
Well, and so
Right?
again,
Seriously.
so it's actually the proof is kind of in the pudding. If any leader, and it doesn't matter him or any leader around the world, if you believe that your opinion, your perspective is the only one that matters, you are in the rabbit hole. So whether he means it or not, he's in the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where he is. So when he's having interviews and press conferences and stuff, that is all rabbit hole. If we are calling people names, rabbit hole. If we are embellishing truths, rabbit hole. If we are placing blame, rabbit hole. And humans who conduct themselves from the rabbit hole are, we can know that if they're conducting themselves from the rabbit hole, that the words that they use are going to be from the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So what I would say, really on a broader perspective, is that there's a tremendous amount of insecurity. There is a tremendous amount of, oh my God, what am I going to do? Everything is in a disaster and I don't know what to do. And who knows what handlers are saying and
Yeah.
who knows who's giving that person information,
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
right? Lack of clarity, a need to be in power, a need to run it all, a need to have more money than you. That is all rabbit hole. So anytime a human conducts themselves from there, yeah, we get what we get. We get what we get.
Ugh, it's all. Some days it's just.
Too
It's
much.
just too much. It's
Some
just too
days it's just
much.
too much. So here's what I would say from as a Canadian. If you see something you don't like, instead of arguing with someone else or trying to prove your point about, well, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, instead of doing that, we need to do some research, right? Maybe now our next post is something promoting something extraordinary somebody did. Maybe our next engagement is supporting someone else for their achievements and truly promoting well-being.
And there's really some fantastic stuff happening now, even coming down the pipe. Like
100%
everybody's just,
on edge.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
But
and you're
even more than that, focused on being better, focused on being more independent, focused on relationships with other countries and improving those. It's
so you just named off like
yeah.
5 things in a row that really are from the well-being bucket. So how does it feel? You tell me as we close this out. You tell me the difference, the emotional difference within your own body, the physical feeling that you get when you say, we feel lied to, we feel betrayed, we feel lost, we feel this, versus it opened opportunities, we've expanded as a country, we've done this. Like, just tell me the difference in that.
I really want to, and I'm going to. And then the little voice in my head goes, he's going to take credit for that too. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? He's going to take credit for that too. Yeah. Oh, I made Canada so much better. And
What?
made them.
Tell me why that matters. Even if he does take credit, why does it matter?
Right? Because I think it's that cycle sometimes, right? It's that how do I you can do, you know, one 10 good things that nobody recognizes, but that one bad thing you do, everybody recognizes, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it can feel like that sometimes that
Let me ask you this. Do you know that Canada achieved the goal? Do you know it?
I want
Let
to
me
say
ask it
yes, but
differently.
well, yeah. I mean, we'll know when it's, you know, announced, or because they're
Why
bringing
are
more.
we waiting for an announcement?
Well, that's true. There is more positivity. That's for dang sure. Like you can feel it, you can see it. Yeah,
There
yeah,
really is.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I it I mean, do gas prices suck? Yeah.
yeah,
I'm not thrilled with the gas prices
yeah,
right
yeah.
now. But does it then create an opportunity for me to stay maybe a little bit closer to home until things settle down, right? So there's other things. So yeah, I could be just totally upset about the gas prices, or I can go find something else to do that's still creative and exploratory and outside. I mean, Edmonton has one of the biggest river valleys in the world, natural river valleys in the world. We have, it's half an hour from my house,
Yep.
right? So there's other things I can do. If I were to just focus on the gas prices and not being able to afford to take my motorhome out into the mountains into BC and be like, if it wasn't for him, I'd be in the mountains right now, then yeah, I'm not going to feel great about that.
Yeah, go pick a little town on a map and go, I'm going there because I've never been there. I mean,
Yeah, like,
it's the beauty of that too. Yes.
yeah. So I think if we were able to focus less on what we deem wrong, what we deem as being bad, and those other things, and focus more on what we can do.
We could go on for hours. We'll save it for another day. Any
Yeah.
closing thoughts for our listeners who need
Yeah.
assistance with moving up the chain?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. First, I want to say we love you, America. We really, really do. We are in this environment together. We have been in partnership for decades since, I mean, we're literally next door to each other. We have the world's longest undefended border. There is a connection between our two countries. Not to mention, I lived there for 7 years. You've spent some time living there, going back and forth as well. We are not really different in people. Like, we have shopping malls and grocery stores and cars and businesses. And I mean, so it's not like we're completely different. We're not from another side of the world. The majority of Canadians live within 100 kilometers of the US border. So we are very, very close. So, what I would say, when you see a post or see something that's upsetting you, first, give yourself a break. It is okay to experience that. It makes sense to not feel good when we see something we don't like. Same for other people. We love them so much, we don't care about them, though, when it comes to what we're doing. We want to take ownership of how we are approaching our own life experience. So if it bothers you to see a post, then you, the human, need to make a decision to do something else. Look somewhere else, go be helpful in your community, help a neighbor, help yourself by picking up a hobby that you love. So I would say take more ownership about what you might be able to do differently to help you move up the chain. 5 quick deep breaths, as we talk about a lot, being out in nature, writing in a journal, talking to a friend who will be supportive, but also not encourage you to
Yeah.
be down here too much, but still be that person who is like, makes sense you feel that way, totally get it. It's accurate for you to feel like you're being screwed if that's the
Yeah.
way you're viewing it. What about you? What have you got for us?
I'd go back to my 5 basics. I had food in the fridge, family, friends,
Yeah,
people that love me,
gratitude.
job I love. Yeah, gratitude and blessings for sure. And give yourself a break, as you say.
Yeah.
Allow to be whatever you need to be for those few minutes, and then and then move on. And remember, it is about your happiness,
Yeah.
nobody else's. Yeah.
Yeah. But let's give them a break too. So
Yeah.
even for the ones we disagree with, it is okay for them to have their opinion. It just really, really is.
If any of our listeners have any thoughts or comments you'd like to leave below, please do like and subscribe. Until next time.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.